Welcome. Let's take a look at our top story. The origin of the novel coronavirus has become a matter of intense debate. The World Health Organization has asked countries to retest samples from flu patients from December and January in order to determine whether the transmission of the virus happened much before it came to the world's notice. Now, a new study from the UK health researchers claims that the novel coronavirus has been spreading around the world since late 2019. Researchers in Britain studied viral sequences from 7,600 patients around the world. The samples indicate that the virus has been circulating worldwide since December last year. While the US President Donald Trump believes that the virus was developed in a Chinese lab, the Chinese ambassador to US pointed out that France seems to have recorded its first COVID-19 case even before China, and he dismissed reports that Wuhan was the epicenter of the virus. Now, according to him, COVID-19 most likely originated in nature.
客观的来说，现在确实在一些地方，就中国以外的地方，发现了有更早的新冠肺炎的病例。那么这背后究竟什么原因？这个科学家们还要去探索、去研究。我觉得这个涉及到这个最早报告病例的地方，不一定就是病毒来源的地方。最早很多人以为可能武汉就是最早发现病例，现在好像情况也不是这样，是吧？美国、欧洲都有更早的病例现在在发现。关于这个病毒来源，现在也有很多各种说法，但是科学界普遍的看法是，这个病毒是自然界产生的，并不是从哪个实验室出来的。我希望大家都能够相信事实，相信科学。
US's top immunologist Anthony Fauci seems to agree with this assessment, and he has said that scientific evidence does not indicate that the virus was deliberately developed in a lab. According to Dr. Fauci, the virus, in all likelihood, developed in nature and jumped species. A hospital in France, while retesting old samples, found that a patient was treated for COVID-19 in late December. And this revelation has brought up more questions about the origin of the virus, the timeline of its transmission and outbreak around the world. It has also made finding patient zero almost impossible. Did the virus start spreading around the world long before it came to the world's notice? These questions have become all the more relevant now. Our WION correspondent Patrick Falk is joining us live from Beijing for more on this. Good afternoon to you, Patrick. Now, the source of this pandemic has been a big debate, becoming a bigger debate. The World Health Organization has even asked countries now to retest samples from flu patients from December. What is the latest that you have for us?
I'm sorry, I'm struggling to hear the line terribly well, but certainly this new development that the virus may have emerged in France much earlier than we previously thought has raised a lot of new questions. First of all, it raises the question as to what extent China could be blamed for this outbreak spreading the way that it has, as it has been accused by many Western countries. China will be saying, well, regardless of whether or not you think that we concealed the level of gravity of this outbreak, there may have been little that China could have done about it. As far as we understand, previous reports have indicated that China's leadership didn't really know about the coronavirus until the middle of January. So there isn't really an awful lot that might have been done from a sort of government point of view, you might argue, if indeed the virus spread to Europe as early as December. The other question that it raises, of course, is whether or not it means the virus might not have even originated from Wuhan, as many people have speculated, and as scientists have pointed out previously is most likely to be the case. This raises the possibility that it might not have come from Wuhan at all. The other thing is, though, that, on a positive note, that this may bring us closer to finding what the origin of the coronavirus is, and hopefully that may help people understand the virus more and come up with this vaccine, which at the moment seems to be the best possibility of us eradicating this disease.
Right, Patrick, if you can hear me, there's also been accusations from President Trump that the virus was started in a lab in Wuhan, while his own immunologist, Dr. Anthony Fauci, has agreed with the Chinese ambassador, saying that it was most likely started in nature.
Well, look, there are a lot of voices that have joined into this debate, of course, and it's been going on for several days. The Foreign Ministry today really reiterated what it's been saying for the past several days, and that is that really this is the US attempting to deflect blame, and that it should really focus on actually trying to contain the outbreak rather than trying to attack China. And also, Hua Chunying, the spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry, said today that really this is something for the scientists to determine and not for politicians. But really, you might argue that both sides have something to prove at this point. The Americans, Mike Pompeo in particular, who has said that there's strong evidence that it may have emerged from a lab. There is a point to prove there. He may have to show the evidence, show what this overwhelming evidence is that he speaks of, to demonstrate to the world what he's saying is accurate. At the same time, there is still this big question mark as to why China isn't willing to allow some sort of investigation or inquiry into the origins of the virus. It's been incredibly resistant to that. So, as I say, both sides at this point perhaps have something to prove.
Right, and Patrick, just one more question. The World Health Organization has asked countries to retest the samples from December and January of flu patients in order to try and trace the origin of this.
I'm sorry, would you mind repeating the question, please?
Let's try again. The World Health Organization has asked countries to retest samples of flu patients from as early as December and January. What is the latest that you know about that?
I believe you're asking about the latest comments from the WHO on trying to strengthen cooperation. I mean, this is partly linked to the question of Taiwan, of course, and there have been calls, mainly by the US, to include Taiwan in WHO hearings and for it to have some sort of participation. For the time being, the WHO has said that China already represents Taiwan from its perspective and does so under the UN rules, if you like. But Taiwan has also come back and said that China can't reasonably represent its region of people, over 20 million people at the World Health Organization. And this is partly, of course, something that the US is trying to push at a time when relations are very sensitive between Beijing and Washington.
All right, Patrick, thank you so much for that report. Patrick Falk coming to us live from Beijing for the latest on the debate about COVID-19's origins.